We are streaming. Hey, Patty. And we are recording now on Zoom. And we should be streaming into my YouTube channel. Here we are for another installment of Watch Get a Clue in 52. Let me mute my YouTube. Okay, so that's not reverbing back in my ear. And it's 7:59 p.m., so let me get the Facebook going. Why not? All right. Add a description. Get the clue in 52 underscore number, tip number 33. And we'll start that. Let's see. All right. So, all right. Hello on Facebook. We're live Facebook. It's 8 o'clock straight up. We're streaming the YouTube channel. Watch Get a Clue, all one word. Patty is with me at 8 o'clock straight up on the Zoom side. And hello out there on Facebook. If people come on board, I'll try as best I can to say hello to everyone. If you want to come on board and interact live after I read this week's tip, it's very, very, very simple. www.tinyurl.com/get a clue, all one word, GETAKLU. This is another installment of Get a Clue in 52. This is the second year we're doing this. This is the second edition of the book, 52 tips across 5 categories. And tonight is exciting because we're starting a new category. That's right. We started this year with communication foundation. It's ubiquitous. Communication is the answer to everything. It is everything. Communication, by the way, Patty, remind me, I might write it down off to the side right now somewhere. But I think that, I want to explore a little bit more the synonymous nature or the synonymous relationship of communication and integrity. Because I know that comunicare, right? If you break down communication, comunicare, to make one with, then what I imagine to make one with. So it's two things coming together, right? Right? Even if it's intra, to make one with our own thoughts, even intrapersonal, connecting with ourselves, right? So isn't integrity just another way of saying communication or vice versa? Isn't communication just another way of saying integrate, make one with, bring things together, connect, on and on? So here we go. We started with the communication section. Then we went into marketing. Marketing has 12 tips. There's so much we could say about marketing. All of these categories could have more than 10 tips, of course, but 10 tips in each category except marketing. It got 2 extra tips because we wanted 52. We wanted a whole year's worth. It makes it convenient to do this type of drip, subject matter expert, more content marketing, if you will. It's free to come on board every Sunday night. We're building a really good Facebook group. We got over 700 people in the Get a Clue in 52 Facebook group. Last year, we live streamed all of these Zooms into that group. So there's a whole library, 52 recordings of me going through all of these tips last year. And this year, I'm streaming into YouTube. So by the end of the year, there'll be 52 Get a Clue in 52 videos on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Watch Get a Clue. And of course, I've got all the Zooms, so I'm going to have 104 Zooms, right? 52 plus 33 is 85, ain't no jive. This is the 85th week in a row. 85th week in a row. I think one night I moved it to Monday night instead of Sunday, and I think it was on the Super Bowl of 2020, right? What a crazy year when we look back on 2020, and things just keep getting crazier. But that's why it's important for us to stay consistent in what we're doing, for us to remain tethered and committed to things in our lives. So that Get a Clue is certainly that for me. Get a Clue in 52. Now, after communication, then marketing, then we just got done last week with networking. So communication, marketing, networking. And networking is a function of marketing, but it deserved its own category because there's so many rich tips in networking that we went through. And that takes us to tonight. Tip number 33 is the first tip in the sales section. And then we'll finish. We'll sprint to the finish line. We'll end the year on accountability, my favorite subject. Of course, I love all of these. Let me say hello to Charlie, who's coming on board from South Africa. Hello to you, my friend. Of course, thank you guys always for being here so regularly as you are. All right, tip number, let's see. The section on sales starts on page 80. Who's that handsome gentleman right there? Oh, that's me. All right, page 80. Anyway, here we go. Quote, I have always believed that sales is a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. I'm quoting myself there. And let me quote one of my mentors, Brian Tracy, who says, approach each customer with the idea of helping him/her solve a problem or achieve a goal, right? A lot of times there's a lot of pressure put on us to make sales, and we think sales is a function of serving our own goals. Brian Tracy says, if you have the patience to focus on helping and serving others, you just might achieve your own sales goals a little easier. So isn't it cool? The tip number 1 of a section means I don't have 9 tips or 11 tips to review. So I actually feel kind of, Patty, are you going to laugh? I feel kind of naked. I feel kind of lost. I feel kind of untethered to, without, tips to review. But why don't we just go ahead and dive right in? Tip number 1, build rapport. Word for word. Here we go. It's a quick read. In fact, do not do anything until you know you are in rapport with someone. Building rapport is more than just noticing a picture in someone's office of them fishing and then saying you love fishing too. Building rapport means a willingness to invest however much time it takes to really and truly get to know someone such that they feel, sense, and even declare that you do. I'm going to stop the word for word read in a minute, and I'm going to tell you that I take such care in doing this that sometimes they the person not only says, oh, wow, you know me really well. Sometimes they say, I've shared too much, because they are terrified of the truths about themselves that I've helped them face and realize, the truths that I would need to know if I was going to coach them into any better result in life or business, right? So sometimes we do this so thoroughly and so depthfully that it's too much. Okay, I digress. Let me move on. Don't confuse knowing someone with knowing everything about someone. That might never happen. Be very clear on the importance of your prospects believing that you have a good idea of who they are, how they got to be who they are. When you do this work of getting to know someone in an honest and dedicated way, that's important, honest and dedicated, everything else you want to do in a sales process is much easier, including terminating the process when getting to know someone reveals that you should not be selling to them, right? And so that ties in before I ask you guys to comment, and I'm not going to mention any names, so let me go ahead and protect the name, but this is hot off the press. This is very recent and timely example. What I want to first show you guys is the care that I take to get to know somebody. And I'm going to, I got to do this with hiding the name of the person. Okay. You cannot see the name of the person, but look at that right there. Those are my notes, right? Can you see that? But without reading the notes or trying to read the name of the person, look at all of that note taking. That is a dedicated conversation. I'm taking thorough notes, and I understand my own mess over here, right? And what came out is the person is not ready for coaching right now. The coaching is not what that person needs. That person wants better results, needs different results, but coaching is not the right solution, not the right answer for that person right now. And that's okay. We had to figure out how to, to get there, right? We had to, do the work of getting to know somebody. And in my work, it's really, really, really important because coaching isn't the only thing I do. As you guys know, I consult, I train, I speak, I write books, whatever. I'm going to give a 2-hour online workshop tomorrow for a small team at the Diocese. Am I pronouncing that right? The Diocese of San Jose. Diocese. I'm Jewish. I don't know how to pronounce that. Patty, help me out on that. What is it? How do you pronounce it?
Diocese.
Yeah, that, right? The Diocese of San Jose, right? I'm going to do an integrity game workshop 2-hour online.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, really cool. I'll tell you about it. We can talk about anything on open discussion. They're a really good client of a partner of mine, Workplace Training Network. So shout out to Kit Coldman and the good folks at Workplace Training Network. And yeah, the diocese, they are committed to making improvements. They are committed to integrity, and they're committed to their bottom line, which is being able to help people. And so a lot of times that requires an investment in soft skills. So anyway, I just, let me get back to what I wanted to talk about, which is tip number 1 in sales, get a clue in 52. When I am selling coaching, when it is a coaching situation, a lot of people don't even understand what coaching is. first of all. Second of all, coaching requires confrontation, right? If somebody wants different results in their life, they're going to have to behave differently. In order for them to behave differently, somehow, some way, we're going to have to reveal to them or help them see what needs to be changed. So it's a real delicate confrontation to somebody's identity, belief system, patterns, habits, on and on. So I got very small chance of getting there to agreement with somebody about what needs to change, and that I could be the support system or the change agent. I got way tougher time getting there if I don't have rapport. If that person doesn't believe that I know who they are, if they don't believe that I have a sense of who they are, if they don't believe that I know how they got to where they are, my chances aren't ruined, but they're really compromised. And so whether you're selling, AirPods or a car or an investment or an experience, an event, a product, a service, I can't imagine any instance, and maybe I could imagine, but so far I haven't, any instance where your chances would go down if you just skip over rapport. Unless like the person is like a high D number one, Patty, right? High D on the disc and number one on the 1, 2, 3. And they come in and they say, hey, listen, I've done all the research already. I've done hours of research. We don't need to waste any time. I want this one and I'm ready to pay right now. Credit card. Like now you want to build rapport with that somebody. It's not going to, like not building rapport, skipping over rapport isn't going to decrease your chance of making that sale. Right. But while you're making the sale, if you can build a little rapport, you got a chance at other sales on it. I can't imagine any instance where intentionally, deliberately skipping over rapport, even just a little bit. How you doing? What brought you here? How much research have you done? On whatever the question is, you want to take the time to get to know people. You want to get to know them, want to feel like you know what their situation is, not just what they want, but why they want it. Help them understand why it'll help them, if it'll help them. Get in a position where you can be honest with them, but you know what? This isn't the right thing for you. You probably need this or this. Right? I can keep going. Like there's so many things about rapport, but old school crap, as my friend Steve Haru would say, the crap that's out there, the ABC crap, always be closing sales trainings, boiler room sales trainings, they would say, they actually there's teachings where people say, go into somebody's office, look around, find stuff in their office, and as soon as you see something that you recognize that exists in your life too, bring it up, talk about it. Like, hey, pretty cool fishing picture. I went off the coast of Cabo last week, or that's not rapport. And those trainings have been around so long that the person you're talking to has probably been through that same training. So when they see you do it, it comes off as inauthentic, right? I don't know. I can keep going on and on and on about it, but building rapport isn't it's a transformational thing, not a transactional thing. It's not, I don't know. I can keep going on, but let me just stop now. And 8:12, let me see if you guys have any comments or questions. Patty or Charlie, thanks again, as always, for coming on board. What do you want to say or what do you want to share? Let me go ahead and turn this around and get the audio.
You had a double Charlie for a minute there.
Yeah, I know, double Charlie. That's always an exciting proposition. All right.
Yeah, so I had a challenge with connecting, so I joined in via the phone, and I had to just do the technical thing on the PC. But now I'm back in again.
All right. So remember, we're talking about sales now. This is the first tip of the sales section in Get a Clue in 52, and the tip number one, it's the starting point. It's like I like to put the found back in foundation, or you've heard the Kluby snack. I don't like to build the mansion on top of quicksand. And so rapport puts, really good solid concrete in that foundation. It's not flimsy. It's not wishy-washy, a good solid rapport. And I almost take it so far as to say, don't do anything until. Like, I don't like to move on. And even, of course, what I teach in my coaches training and my leadership training is that while you're focused on building rapport, you also get to discover. Right. Not diagnosed in a medical sense, right? Because we're not doctors as coaches, as personal professional growth people, but you start to hear word choices, patterns, habits, tone of voice, pace. There's a lot of nonverbal that comes out when you're just asking people about themselves, and you can start to get hints and clues is what I teach people to listen for. So you are starting to figure out what they need, but I don't really want to try to like identify it or get agreement for it on what they need until I feel like they trust me on some level. They feel like I know what they're going through or how they got here or on and on. So that's a summary of what we've discussed so far. Questions, comments, contributions to tonight's discussion, Charlie or Patty?
Well, I was, as you were reading, I was thinking, you know, the first step in building rapport is really to listen to what the client or the potential client is saying in response to a question or a comment. Because to listen is, like you said, to pick up pattern, the word choice, what they're, you know, is really, they have, people come to anything that I've been involved with a sales, they come with the preconceived notion sometimes.
Yeah.
And it, sometimes if I can identify that, find out what that is, then I can better serve them, whether it is, you know, to point them in another direction or, you know, kind of talk to them more about coaching.
Yeah, it's hard not to say it. I'm going to say it. It goes back to the power of questions. It's like a tip in every section.
Yep. Right.
Questions, you get us where we want to go so much easier than statements do, quite often. So I will, you know, like I hear it in my head. I will do a better job listening if I do a better job asking better questions. I'll have better stuff to listen to. So, you know, in the leadership training, there's only two
I know
questions that I teach word for word, only two. Then I teach what? Everything else is a follow-up question to any of the information that you get from the first two questions, right? But yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. Listening is the key. I'm going to be talking a lot about listening in the workshop tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
And I did have training once where they talked about they used the fish as the example.
The fish on the wall or whatever.
Yeah, how to build rapport. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, that is so superficial.
Yeah, I'm not making that up, right? And then like that training's been around. If you've seen that training, I've seen that training, and chances are the person's seen the training. So if you do that, they're going, oh God.
I know.
Right. But now you've got rapport. Now you can like turn around and say, hey, oh, you went to that training too? The rapport building training? Okay. Anyway, you try to back out of it and come back at it. Anyway. Any other here we are. Get a clue at 52. Tip number 1 in sales, build rapport. That's tip number 1. We got 9 more tips to build on top of that. Any other comments or questions tonight?
I'm sure Charlie's got one.
Charlie.
Hey, Coach Jeff. Hi, Patty. I see you like football shoes, Coach Jeff.
Those are back behind me. Those are basketball shoes. Those are Shaquille O'Neal.
Basketball shoes.
Yeah, the guy right there in the white is Shaquille O'Neal, and those are Shaquille O'Neal's shoes. And there's a little picture up there in the corner of when I proposed to Marianne as well. Let's see here. So there's a shoe. That's when it's made out to AJ. He wore that in the game. This one has never been worn. To Jeff, yeah, but there's the picture of me proposing to Marianne, and there's my guy, Shaq. Anyway, that's fun to do.
And do that one just on the fish story.
Oh, you're funny. Oh man, I missed it completely.
You missed it. You missed it, Coach Jeff.
Oh, that is so funny, man.
I love it.
You know what threw me off? What threw me off, Charlie, is you said football.
I know.
I understand. I
mean, it's funny. I'm going to back out of this embarrassment. That did fly over my head. You got me. Okay. But here's the thing. If you're going to even do the superficial form of rapport building, you got to get it right. You can't look, like, no offense, Charlie, but you can't look at a picture of
and so there you got sharks. Oh, I see you like sharks.
Of a shark on somebody's wall and say, oh, I love to go hunting too. Anyway, he's back. That's funny, man. That's good.
We always have fun on Get a Clue in 52.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, as Patty has mentioned as well, sometimes you get into asking the right questions, right? But then by asking those questions, you get to really understand what the actual need is that the person is actually after, but they don't really realize what that need is. So by asking their background, how did they get there? What motivated them to do what they are pursuing to do? Those little probing questions. I found that one of the biggest challenges, if the opening of the call or the discussion is, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Or one thing you taught me is one of the questions that you ask is, what is it that you openly share with someone you meet for the first time?
Yeah, that's, by the way, that's paraphrasing. That's close. That's in the general direction of what I've taught you.
Yeah.
And, I use slightly different words for very, very, very important reason, but you're in the ballpark. And, I teach that question in my training, in my leadership.
Yeah. So,
and we go over it quite a bit, by the way, in my group mentoring, right?
Yeah.
Which, for those people that can't afford the training, the group mentoring is more affordable.
So what you find is people they just dive into it and go, okay, you listen to where they are, and then some would ask you, do you mean personal or business professional? Whichever you choose. So whatever you feel comfortable with sharing with me, or, because I'm looking at getting to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And they start building it, that gets a little bit of trust that you're not really concerned about business. You want to know about them as a person.
Yeah. Can I, do you have more to say here? Because I want to agree with
you.
No,
you can go.
What you're saying. I want to agree and add, but not before you're done.
So, I found that when I do assessments and actually also speaking to people, is once you ask those type of questions, they get a sense that you are actually wanting to know them more than what you want to know what they are doing. And that leads up to them freely or openly giving you, okay, I'm doing this because of. That's where the background comes in. And now they'll tell you where it started, clearly. And that way you can then, kind of navigate where your next question is going to and what their struggles are and where you could probably help them or guide them into the right direction, maybe connect them to the right people or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Agreeing when you ask, again, you paraphrased or you have your own wording for that question that you say you learned from me, right? What would you normally share? That question. I think in agreeing, obviously you learned that from me. That's a powerful question. I teach it. I'm very careful about how I teach it in the words I teach. It's one of only 2 questions that I actually teach word for word, learn these word for word. And so maybe offline, Charlie, we're going to get you calibrated on the right words or something. Right. But there's valuable, but I'm not a script guy. I'm not a inauthentic guy. But those 2 questions that I teach word for word are critical. Now, what I want to add to, in addition to, those 2 questions that I teach being critical, one of which you summarized for us, there's lots of stuff I do before that even to build rapport, right? And I'll mention 2. One is I ask them, what I'll do is I'll tell people, I have some questions for you. I want this to be valuable. In order for this to be valuable, I'm going to have to ask you some questions. So I test close, for the permission to ask them,
Mhm.
right? And then what I say is, and Patty, you can probably finish this, words out of my mouth, because you've got my training and you've got my group mentoring, so you probably know exactly. But before I do, right, it'll sound a little something like this. Tell me if you can finish my sentence. I want this to be super valuable for you. This is a complimentary coaching session. I asked to budget 90 minutes, so neither of us are looking over our shoulder. You're going to get real coaching today, and I want this to be valuable. In order that it's valuable, I'm going to have to ask you some questions. But before I do
you have any questions for me?
Do you have any questions for me? There's nothing more important. I'll even back it up and say, there is nothing more important than your questions, which now even softens the questions I'm about to ask again. I actually put my questions in a place of inferior importance to hers or his. Does that make sense?
It kind of gives them a sense of security, that you are vulnerable and where you allow them to ask you any question.
Anything under the sun.
Yeah, I actually get a bit of humor to it as well, and says to them, you can even ask me what I had for breakfast this morning. I'll tell you.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What I have for dinnerware, or what I have for dinner last night. What's my underwear size? You can ask me anything you want. When I teach this, and I don't want to like go into the content of my training, but there's a lot of reasons that's beyond belief effective. So like in agreeing with you, that's saying, hey, what would you normally share with people when you decide to? And I'm paraphrasing the word for word that I teach. If you want to tell me, come to the training or the group mentoring, right? This is a free Sunday night thing where we want this to be valuable, but value enough for people to want to make some investments in themselves. But I digress. My point is
that is actually what I found is the key element into building the rapport, where you can get the exchange of what I call it maybe a trust, that they can then share with you what you would want to know, and get to know them and yourself as well.
Yeah, the point, as I understood it, you were highlighting the importance of saying, hey, what would you normally share? And you were adding that, in the course of them doing that, you start to learn about what they want or what they need, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I want to agree and add to that even before I ask a question like that, I can find out what they want and what they need by listening to their questions. What do you feel?
Yes.
What's another way of describing what their questions are? Their questions are what they're unsure about, what they're concerned about, what they want to know. Most salespeople make the mistake of getting in and taking somebody through a sales process, and now the person feels like they're being dragged through a process, right? Where I'd rather know my process so well that I'll pull out each part of the process or apply each part of the process in the organic flow of building the relationship, right? So it's like, people, instead of saying the number 6 only after 5 and before 7, I'm going to say all numbers 1 through 10 in the number that I'm hearing this person needs to hear them. Not, hey, you have to hear 1 now, you got to go, oh, that's great. But if you look over here to 2, oh, yeah, that's cool. Huh? Yeah, no, okay. And so back to 3, where people sense that they're being taken through a process rather than heard. And you want to know, and we're going to talk about this later on in other tips. You want to know yourself so well that you can adapt. But you got to start somewhere. It's like you got to get in to get out. You got to learn things in order to free flow them. You got to learn the riff in order to, rock the solo, I guess.
Just another question, Coach Jeff. As you said, somebody who's done the research and knows what they want. Have you found that as much as you would want to know about them, they would be going on to knowing about you, as you had asked? You can ask me anything. And then the tables are basically turned around. And how would you handle that situation? Is go into telling them what you are about and about yourself, but being very careful not to share, like, oh, I like your background. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know why I always forget to do this like every week, right? Right, tip of the cap to Joey. Obviously, you could tell.
Yeah. I remember him having
like Joey, doesn't it? Yeah. Always appreciate Joey's efforts. So go ahead, Charlie.
So the question was, how do you actually handle the table turned around because you had asked, you can ask me any question?
And then they start asking me everything about me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I handle it with confidence and excitement.
Exactly.
I handle it with confidence. It's I'm thrilled for them to ask me about me, because this is a lot of this, the Get a Clue in 52 stuff, right? A lot of this that's kind of freaky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a background.
Anyway, a lot of this is vulnerability, man. A lot of this it all comes back to love and vulnerability, the willingness to be vulnerable, right? So, right, if I let you ask me anything, where'd you meet your wife? Oh, I'll never forget the day, right? And what got you into personal and professional growth? Oh, well, I thought I was probably going to die if I didn't change my life. Like, whether I talk about my greatest accomplishments and my successes and the clients I've helped, or I talk about my failures and my setbacks and my challenges, I get a chance to be real. I get a chance to be honest. And, if I believe in myself and I believe in what I'm offering, and I believe that there's enough people in the world, and I believe that I'm active enough to have enough opportunities, I believe the right people, will find me and hire me. So
excellent.
Anyway, I just handle it in short. I handle it with excitement and confidence. When people start asking excitement and confidence, even sharing the unbecoming things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, what if they say, what's the toughest thing you've ever had to overcome in your life? I might say, well, one of them is like quitting smoking, like overcoming addiction, beating cigarettes. That was hard to do, but I did it. And what I found is, right. And then here's another tip for you without getting too much into my training content. But, what I found is I can answer the question with total humility and honesty and whatever. And what I found is, and that's the opportunity for me to move the conversation back in the direction of ultimately where I want them to go.
Yes.
The toughest thing I ever got over was, the addiction to cigarettes. People used to ask me, how long are you smoking? And I say, longer than I've been breathing, because my parents used to smoke like while mom was pregnant with me. And I grew up and there was ashtrays in every house. And I used to come home from school and unbend the cigarettes that were half smoked and unbend them and try to put it back together and pretend that I was my dad. Are you with me? Like no bueno. So now I'm sharing all of that. Right. And what I found is, the effort it took to beat addiction is very similar to the effort it takes to make changes in personal and professional life. And so now as a coach, I'm here to help people with those changes from a place of real experience. Great question. Do you have any other questions?
100%.
See how, right?
Yeah. So then you just flip it back.
Yeah. And, so even the deepest, darkest, like the vulnerability of, right, the tables are turned. I'm not in jeopardy if the tables are turned, right?
Yeah, no, but that also builds a little bit more trust, because you're vulnerable.
Yeah, it also helps me know what, like listen, a lot of times in sales trainings, those crappy sales trainings that I talked about, and if I brought my guy Steve Haru, who was on as a guest with us last year, if I brought him back on, and you follow his LinkedIn, he'll tell you all the time, that crap. He was talking about that crap that's out there. I love the guy. He's from the East Coast, New England, man. Steve's awesome. He says, one of the things that's out there in that crap that's out there, right, is overcome objections, squash objections, kill the objections, right? Well, I don't, later on I'm sure I'm going to address that later on in the book as we get to, future tips, but I don't look at it that way. Like I look at objections as concerns. And I don't want to wait until I've asked for the credit card to start fighting a bunch of objections and considering somebody's concerns to be my roadblock and my adversary and the thing that I have to overcome, squash, or kill. You hear some of these words in sales trainings, right? I don't know. Like the only thing that would ever stop somebody from moving forward with me, right, or with you, or with anything that's going to benefit them that they want or need, or both, right, is a concern. So when I ask people, hey, listen, I need to know what questions are on your mind. I'm going to give you great coaching today. In order to do that, I have a bunch of questions for you. But before I start, I want to know what questions you have. It's really just another way of saying, what are your concerns? Because
Yeah.
whatever questions they have, what are they really asking? You know?
Yeah.
Right? They're really
100%.
sharing with me what's on their mind, what they're concerned about. And so I would rather find out right up front and then cater the following 89 minutes to what their concerns are, instead of some presentation I memorized that some sales trainer, you know, told me I need to memorize to meet quota. You know, I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? So here we go. I digress. I can't do I think that maybe that's why I ditched the background. I can't do, you know, get a clue in 50, you know, right? Here we are, get a clue in 50. I just got to get used to this. Here we are, get a clue in 52. another installment. The number one tip in sales for, you know, build rapport. Don't do anything until you build rapport. And we've got 9 more tips to put on top of that one. And rapport is more than just going into an office, finding something that you recognize and saying, oh yeah, me too. No, you gotta, the other things about that you gotta make sure you keep in mind, it's a subtlety in here, but I used words like, or phrases like take the time and honest and dedicated. I want people to know that somewhere in their process, I'm encouraging people to budget the time to build rapport. Budget the time. Like, you're gonna ask somebody, like, you don't have to answer this now, but like, well, let me ask you, Patty, how much time do you think it takes to build rapport?
It can take 20, 30 minutes.
It could.
Depends on the person, because you can ask those questions and they'll not exactly answer it. So you have to probe some more and ask a little different way to get.
Yeah. When I went through my coaches training, the trainer said you should be able to enroll anybody inside of coaching if you just follow this script and deliver the coaching session in 45 minutes. So I found out very often took sometimes 45 minutes just to build rapport, just so that they relaxed enough so I can get honest answers to my questions. That's the other thing that I want you to. So number one, how much time does it take to build rapport? Budget that time. Number two, do you need honest answers to your questions in order to increase the chance you'll sell? How are you going to get honest answers to your questions without building rapport? Imagine this. How many of you have ever been to the retail store? You walk into the retail store and somebody comes up and says, hi, can I help you find something? And you're like, no. And the honest answer is, yeah, you can. But they don't have any rapport. So you just say no, not because they can't help you find something. It's because you're not ready to trust them with anything yet. So anyway, I could keep going and going. But thanks. Yeah, you're right on point, Patty. Here we are. Get a clue in 52. Charlie, Patty, what else do you got for us tonight? Summarizing these points of importance.
Charlie wants the Cluey snack.
Charlie wants the Cluey snack. I'm going to tease him and make him wait a little longer. So, okay, one of the subtleties in the tip, right? Just to review. Number one, it's not just, hey, I fished too, right? So, how much time does it take to build rapport? Are you budgeting that time? Number two, do you need honest answers to your questions? How are you going to expect honest answers unless you've taken the time to build rapport? A third thing is that that you want to is like agree that you're in rapport. Like, I will sometimes even go so far as to say things like, do you feel like I understand who you are and how you got here? Does it sound like I have a good understanding of what's going on? Are we in rapport? Is there anything else you want to know about me or feel that you need to share with me in order for us to really have a nice rapport? Or do you feel that we've got a really good rapport right now? And if they say, no, I think we got a good rapport, right? Now, all kinds of little yeses lead to the big yes down the road. Am I hearing you?
Why? Last year we talked on this topic. We had the concept feedback and summarize. So you feed back to them what they said to you.
Feedback, right. Absolutely. Feedback, right? For feeding back to them the question that they asked, or feeding back to them the answers to your questions. So that's that active listening. Like, one key of active listening is not just to listen, but show that you're listening, right? I'm always taking notes. Anybody on Zoom with me can see me writing down. I mean, And then I could always show people. I often do that, just the way I did with you guys earlier. I'll hold my notes up in the camera. I'll say, look, these are my notes of the conversation so far. I want them to know that I'm working hard.
Yeah.
And so that's critical. So one, the time that it takes to, if you're going to need honest answers to their questions, right? There's a saying in like, I remember when we were recruiting, when I used to be a headhunter, and the candidates like, oh, I make this, I work that, I'm looking for this job, I'm looking for that job. They would tell you this about their background, tell you that about their career, and I remember one woman, a senior recruiter, told me, she said, look, if their lips are moving, they're lying, right? Like some people just get accused of lying all the time, right? In a sales or a persuasive situation. And so I just think it's important to build the rapport to get us closer to the truth, the honest answers, that we need to do an honest job for people. Anything else tonight? Get a clue in 52. Tip number 1 is build rapport in the sales section. Build rapport. And we got 9 more tips. We're going to lay out the pearls. We'll string the pearls. All the tips are interrelated and they all support and build on each other. Any other comments or questions for tonight? 8:40 at night.
Thank you for a good session, Coach Jeff, as always.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
We're always having fun, and
learning.
There's nothing. And learning, having fun learning.
Yeah. Are we ready for a Kluby snack tonight, Charlie?
Yeah.
All right.
He's really excited about this one.
Yeah. Did we do this? We had a couple, right?
You? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, how about, I'll just make a simple one, right? It said, like, if you read laws of physics and everything, that nothing moves without, force, right? Right? Some force needs to be applied to an object for the object to move, right? So anyway, that it gave birth to this Kluby snack. Emotion is force. That's
the really simple one. Simple but powerful.
Yeah, one of the most simple Kluby snacks ever, right? It's like the end of the batter that you pour onto the thing, and it doesn't make a full cookie. It's just a little thing, but it's still bakeable and eatable. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, emotion is force.
Got you. That's powerful.
Or it could do ... They move things. Or emotions are force. Emotion is force. It moves things, or they move things. Emotions are force. They move things. Emotion is force. It moves things. I would probably put it like that. How's that? Is that tasty? Tasty for tonight?
Very yum. Like it's going mind feed. I just love starting my weeks this way because it kind of just gives me, a lot of perspective.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate when you retype up a Kluby snack into an infographic, you put it out to all the thousands of people that around the world. It warms my heart. I'm grateful, Charlie. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Coach Jeff.
All right. Anything else before last call? Get a clue in 52. Tip number 33 overall. Tip number 1 from the sales section. We're off to a great and jovial start. Charlie really got me good with the rapport building of the shoes on the mantle. Oh, man, that was fun. That's like probably one of the better laughs I've had at myself in a long time. Very good. And by the way, here's another Kluby snack, right? Are you ready, Charlie? I've said this before, but it dawned on me it's Kluby snack form. I'll write it down in my journal. Hopefully I can read my own notes one day and reproduce all of these, but you ready? If you cannot laugh at yourself, ... I don't think you deserve to laugh at anybody else.
Well, you really don't deserve to laugh at anybody else ever.
Well, I think the people that are laughing at themselves, you laugh with them.
Yes, you can laugh with them. Yes.
Yeah. But that maybe that needs some tweaking, but
Yeah, I'm changing it to if you can't laugh at yourself, you don't deserve to laugh with anyone.
With others. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's better. Vibrates better. Laugh, really? I don't know. Maybe give some thought to that one. We'll give some thought. We'll tweak it.
For your comedic bone.
We're in there. We're in there. You know, I can laugh at myself is what I'm saying. That doesn't mean,
no,
hey,
that's
you know what? Hey, look, I'm not a perfect human being. I have laughed at other people. I am not a human.
Sometimes people think you're crazy if you just burst out laughing. You did something that is quite hilarious.
I don't think there's a person under the sun that's going to tell me that they've seen Donald Trump dance and not laugh their ass off. Okay, I digress. I think.
Where did that come from?
Okay. I don't know.
Duck.
Oh, he's just always in the news, man. They won't leave us alone about the guy. He's just in the news every day. Anyway, all right. Anything else? We get a clue in 52.
We're ready.
Yes, total gratitude.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Have a great week, Patty and Coach Jeff and everybody.
All right.
And hope you enjoy the replay, those that watch it later.
All right.